What is going on, you guys? It is another episode of the Sci-Fi Zone where the multiverse meets a seventh inning stretch. It's your boys Trent and CJ, and today's destination is the Spider-Verse. We're going to be discussing and breaking down episodes 1 and 2 of Spider-Noir. And if you enjoyed this video, this kind of content, please hit that like and sub button as it greatly helps the channel. And also don't forget to check out our shorts content as it has our videos' best and funniest moments. But really quick, for these breakdowns of Spider-Noir, CJ and I will be watching 2 episodes at a time, and then after making a video about them, talking about them, breaking them down, and giving our theories for what will happen in the following episodes, as well as for the rest of the season. So, CJ, thoughts before going into the show, and then now after watching the first 2 episodes?
Yeah, I was really excited going into the show. I was assuming we were going to get kind of a different version of Spider-Man. Obviously, the Spider-Noir character is still one of the Spider people, but he's very different from the rest of them. And I think that's exactly what we've gotten so far. I really like what they're doing with his character. Him kind of like already being out of it as the Spider and like having to be forced back into it, I think is good. Also, visually, I think this show looks great. Some of the shots of him swinging through the city is beautiful. Like the black and white looks great. And for a show that's meant to be watched in black and white, the color also looks incredible in the colored version. I think so far, 2 episodes in, I'm really enjoying it. What about you?
Yeah, before going into it, I was very interested as to like how much they're going to be pulling from the Spider-Verse, and I kind of like that it's more of its own standalone thing. And they actually made a lot of very interesting choices to make this its own standalone thing. Like, for example, the showrunners confirmed that this is a variant of the Spider-Noir that we saw in the Spider-Verse movie. So not directly the same one, but now just a brand new variant in its own universe. And I'm happy with it because this universe is freaking awesome. But also, it's Ben Reilly, not Peter Parker. And that's interesting because originally Ben Reilly was the Scarlet Spider, and the Scarlet Spider was in Across the Spider-Verse, and he was created as a clone of Peter Parker and adopted the name Ben Reilly from Uncle Ben and Aunt May. So it's interesting that this character of Spider-Noir is Ben Reilly. We're just like pulling from a lot of different things and just making a whole new Spider-Noir variant. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of interesting decisions with the character. Like they've done a good job at making him feel very separate from the rest of the MCU and the rest of the Spider-Verse, but they're still referencing things from the Spider-Verse and kind of teasing at the idea that maybe there's another universe out there, but this is the only one that Ben Reilly knows of.
Yeah, and this is also just a more dark, gritty version that we've seen of the Spider-Man character type. Like, it feels weird even calling him Spider-Man because they're really like, no, he is the Spider. So we're just gonna call him the Spider.
Yeah, very intentionally not using the word Spider-Man. Can't say Spider-Man, not saying Peter Parker or anything. He is the Spider, and that's what his name is.
Yeah. But I agree with what you mentioned before about the web slinging. Like him doing it through like the 1930s aesthetic New York is very fun to watch. And I also love that like in the intro they showed his love for New York, and that's like a big reason as to why he's protecting it. Like he grew up in the city, he fell in love in this city, and that love was also the very reason that he got to hear with great power comes great responsibility. Another change from the traditional Spider-Man origin story. Instead of Aunt May or Uncle Ben, it's his girlfriend Ruby. So just again, another interesting switch onto this origin story.
Yeah, for sure. Spider-Man kind of have their canon event or that one moment that makes them the person that they are. And it seems like Ben Reilly's canon event is Ruby dying and her saying those final words to him and him trying and doing what he can to save her. He made an effort to save her, but he wasn't able to. And he feels like she was his biggest responsibility. And after messing that up, he doesn't want the responsibility anymore. And so he's kind of just doing everything he can to put the spider life behind him and not be that vigilante and just be the private investigator that he is, you know? And I think it's interesting that they're starting off the show here, like having this event already happened, and we're sort of being introduced to him when he's at his lowest and trying everything he can not to be the spider.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely could have shown the scene of him losing her, and then we do like a time jump, maybe like that could have happened too. But I do like the monologue intro, and then we do I haven't been doing this for 5 years. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was a solid introduction to his character.
And after hearing how many times Spider people have lost someone that has told them with great power comes great responsibility. I'm just not gonna say it anymore because that phrase is just all expenses paid, fast pass, front of the line ticket to a canon event, and I don't want to go.
Yeah, it is. It's way too risky. You say that you're signing your death note. Yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't say that because I don't want you to die. You still don't say it. You know,
Yeah.
I know what comes with great power. You don't got to remind me.
Yeah, with great knowledge comes great responsibility.
Yes.
So let's get into the story. Episode 1 establishes that dangerous events are indeed occurring throughout New York that are tied to guys with superpowers and are just kind of popping up out of nowhere. And they all have some mysterious connection to a character named Silvermane, being played by Brendan Gleeson. And he's like a kingpin kind of character. So I really hope he can grow into, someone who has that kind of power and presence on screen because it seems like he's already heading that way, which I'm pretty hyped for.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like Silvermane as a villain. I think the casting is great too. Every time he's in a scene, he's really good at commanding whatever scene he's in. Like anytime he's on screen, he is the main character of that scene of whatever's going on. And I like how he's this massive force calling the shots and kind of pulling the strings on these people who have superpowers. Like he's really got a lot of power.
Yeah, bro. And if you're going to take the city from the spider, then you got to have a lot of power.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They mentioned like Silvermane really got his power within these last 5 years when the spider went away. So as soon as the spider dips out, Silvermane takes advantage and has a very comfortable last several years.
Yep. And these guys that are popping up with superpowers do not like that. So they want to strike back against him. And the first one that we see is an original character named Addison. And he has pyrokinetic abilities. He's the Human Torch, basically, to put simply. But we find out through Lamorne Morris's character, a reporter named Robbie Robertson, who, by the way, he's got the best outfits out of anybody in this entire show. Just want to say that.
Yeah, 100%. Like Lamorne Morrison's a really handsome guy, and his wardrobe for this show is great. He looks great in it. The suits are great. The tie's great. He's great.
Yeah, so we find out through him that the guy that has these pyrokinetic powers burned down Silvermane's mansion and killed 6 of his men. And nobody knows who sent him or why he did it. But a representative of Silvermane named Winston has paid multiple PIs throughout the city, including Ben and another PI named Donegal, who's played by Cameron Britton, to find Addison and bring him to Silvermane. So when Riley and Donegal find Addison, he storms off, and Donegal finds him first and establishes that guns in this universe actually work on people with powers. They're not just going to be missing bullets flying by, ooh, dodge, dodge, dodge. No, if you get popped, you're done. And I say that because I feel like Marvel will have scenes with, like, dudes with machine guns and bullets aren't hitting anybody, and if they do, they just graze someone. So I'm happy that the show established that, hey, you can get popped.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good establishing scene for the show and like the vibe of the show, showing that it is a very dangerous area. And like you said, the guns do work. There are some characters in the MCU where if they're in a fight and there's a gun involved, I'm not really worried that they're going to get shot or that they're actually going to lose the fight. But I mean, showing that even someone with superpowers can be vulnerable to bullets and that you don't have bulletproof skin, you're not immortal. I thought that was really interesting because it makes the scenes that include guns later on in the show, it makes them feel like there's higher stakes because they've shown us that they work and what they can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to set some tangible stakes early. So following morning, we meet Ben's secretary, Janet. I love her character too. Like her and Ben are a very fun duo because like she just puts up with all of his antics and not getting paid. But I like that she's still trying to work it out with him even during the Great Depression.
Yeah, 100%. Janet's a great character. I really like her relationship with Ben. Obviously, she is like his secretary, so she works under him, but they spend a lot of time together. And so they have grown very close and they care about each other a lot. And it's almost like Ben feels like he has a responsibility to protect her in a way.
Yeah, bro, she's probably gonna leave soon because we come to find out that Ben is very stingy about the jobs that he's currently taking on as a PI because if it looks like he's gonna have to do any sort of spider stuff, he does not want to do the job and he is fine not taking the money. So no job, no pay. So Janet's kind of in a rough spot, which is why we admire her loyalty so much.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for her, but you know, that shows how admirable her character is.
Yeah, very true. But it's very interesting how 5 years later, him giving up the spider is still like negatively affecting his personal life, which is the one thing that he's trying to salvage, along with the people that are close to him now.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing. Like with Spider-Man character with Spider-Man characters, you're not only like in danger yourself, but the people close to you are also in danger as well.
Yeah, it's very hard to balance the dual life as a spider person.
Yeah, I would not recommend it.
Nope, I me neither. But yeah, so Ben just is very stingy about the cases that he's presented with, and he's stingy about this new case too. The husband of Kat Hardy being played by Lee Jun Lee, she's seemingly having an affair with someone, and the husband wants Ben Riley to get evidence. But after Ben finds out that she's having an affair with the mayor, he tells the husband she was alone all night and backs out of the investigation because he knows if I get involved with the mayor, I might have to do some spider stuff. This could get way out of control. But watching Nick Cage just be like overly joyful and like amped about like, oh, dude, you have such a loyal wife. You know, you should be happy. You know, go home to her. Like, it's so funny.
You got nothing to worry about at all. No problems in the world, buddy. Yeah, I mean Nick Cage was such a great casting choice for this role. He's perfect for the not only the noir film style, but also the sense of humor that he brings to the character as well. It's like a good mix of like over the top, but also dry humor as well. I think he just brings a great aspect to that character.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the way they developed the photos by like doing the old school process in like the dark red room, I thought that was so cool because it's the 30s and that's the only way that they could find out what a photo was.
Yeah, that was such a nice touch. Very good attention to detail in this show with like the world building and making you feel like it really is the 1930s. Like everything from like the way that they process the photos to the way that they dress and the old-timey cars and the silly accents that they all have that I wish we could bring back to 2026 because I wish people talk like that still. But yeah, this feels very much like it's in the 1930s, and I love that about the show.
That man was completely on fire. I've never seen such a thing. Are you daft?
Yeah, dude. So while Ben was staking out the building that Kat Hardy was gonna be staying in real life is the Talmadge Hotel in Los Angeles. And that's cool because that's the same place that Trevor Slattery stayed at in the Wonder Band show. So I think it's just really interesting how same building, but in two separate universes built on two separate coasts of the United States. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. I love that little Easter egg that they added in there. And honestly, props to you for noticing that because I didn't even notice it at first until you pointed it out. And then I like connected the dots, like, oh yeah, that's the same building. But yeah, that was a cool a little detail they added.
Yeah, and seeing Ben walk up the fire escape because he's really not trying to be the spider was hilarious. Like he does not do anything spider related unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, that was a really funny cut. I thought when he got denied the elevator, it was gonna cut to this epic, like him swinging up the building to the top. But no, he decides to run up 13 flights of stairs instead to do everything he can to avoid being Spider-Man. And yeah, it feels like his powers are very much a last resort only. Only in the case of like imminent death is he going to use his powers.
Yeah. And luckily he uses his powers to save Kat Hardy from being slapped by the mayor because she didn't want a kiss from him. So, man, that guy's an a-hole.
Yeah, that was a cool save by Ben there. I wish he could have given him a little ass whipping a little bit because I think that would have been nice to see. But you know, yeah, at least Cat Hardy got away.
Yeah, he's got to protect his identity, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. Oh yeah, he didn't have the mask or anything.
Yeah, but the story gets interesting when the following morning, Winston, the guy that works for Silvermane, shows up to Ben's office and threatens him with his gun after Ben refuses to give up the whereabouts of Addison unless he gets paid a lot more money than he was offered before. So, after Winston pulls the gun on Ben, Janet, she's like, hey, I got one too, buddy. Again, just they're a super sick duo.
Yeah, man, they have a really cool relationship. I really like what they have going on. And Janet's a great assistant because she's really good around the office. She's good with clients and she's good with guns and she can protect Ben in that way when she needs to.
Yeah, she's funny too.
Yeah, yeah. Everything you want in a secretary.
Yeah. So Winston's like, all right, I'm gonna live to fight another day. And he heads back to Silvermane's mansion, and Donegal and Ben secretly follow him back there. So now they know for sure that Winston does work for Silvermane. And Ben's like, oh, He works for Silvermane. No, no, no. I want nothing to do with this. I am out. I don't care about the money. And Donegal is confused because Silvermane is connected to some of the deepest pockets in New York, so he wants to try to bribe him for even more money. And Ben's like, hey, if you want to die, that's your choice. I'm going this way. And Donegal should have listened because RIP to our boy. You shouldn't have tried to make a quick buck on an organized crime boss.
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate series of events for Donegal. You can't pull one over on someone like Silvermane or someone like Kingpin. We know what happens when you try to take advantage of someone like them. This was another situation where Ben turns down an opportunity for money, but this case turns out to be a good decision because he was going to end up just like Donegal if he had gone and done what he had done.
Yeah, or worse, had to reveal that Ben Riley was the spider, and then he's got to work around that whole thing because he probably would have used his powers to save himself and then deal with that.
Yeah, whatever he had done, it would have not gone well for him.
Yeah. So now, since you're not going to take the money from that guy, you're not going to take the money from the husband, could you at least try to blackmail Cat Hardy into paying you for the pictures so that you can at least get some money? And he's like, okay, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So he needs to find out where she works. So he meets up with Robbie, the reporter, at the morgue, being Robbie's there because he got a tip from a buddy about a weird body that came in. So they're talking about where Cat works, and then he pulls out the body, and what do you know? It's Pyro Man. So Robbie's like, yo, the guy that burned down Silvermane's mansion is dead now. I need to write about this. It's like there's something going on here. And Ben is trying to put a hold on this whole situation. Like, yo, don't write about it yet because Donegal has no idea what he's getting himself into. And Robbie didn't even have time to write about it before Donegal got killed for this whole thing. Like, it's crazy how even though it's the 30s, how quickly information can still travel and there can still be repercussions despite slower media.
Yeah, even though they didn't have social media, this all happened in a very short amount of time, and they got business done very quickly. And yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing that Robbie could have done, no decision that he made that would have made a difference anyways. Donegal's fate was sealed, and there's nothing they could have done about it.
Nope. And also, it's a Great Depression, so Robbie's got to write a story.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is in a very rough spot right now, so he needs all the jobs he can get.
Yeah, totally, man. So since Ben got the location of where Kat works, he goes over there and gets very mesmerized by her performance. I think they're going to have a romantic thing going down the line, but we'll see because the way he pressed her about the pictures, she did not respond too well. And because he pressed her about the pictures, we get introduced to this universe's version of Sandman. He's pretty cool. He's Cat Hardy's bodyguard, and he follows Ben up to a rooftop after he forces him to leave because he still has the pictures of Cat. So he's like, give me the negatives, and he's like, I ain't giving you the negatives. So they fight over him, and it's really interesting to me how this version of Sandman's powers are still kind of being discovered by him in a way. Like when the sand's coming out, it looks like it's not really happening under his own control. Like it looks pretty slow and uncomfortable. And I like that creative choice because I feel like it creates a certain sympathy for Flint and Marco that Ben actually picks up on. And then Kat Hardy shows up out of nowhere as well, and she's worried about Flint. And Ben just chooses to give up the pictures because, he's like, you're right, you know what? This guy's turning into sand. She's crying. I'm on a rooftop. It's been a really weird day. I don't want it. I'm going home.
Yeah, he's got to go lay down and take a nap. That's what is required for Ben right now. Yeah, this was a really cool scene. I love this action sequence between Ben and Sandman, seeing how Sandman reacts to his powers and what really makes him tick and what makes the powers starting to start shifting. And it was great action sequences and it was great character work as well because like you said, it did create some sympathy for Sandman as this isn't really something that he asked for. This isn't really something, or seemingly, we don't really know yet how or why he got these powers, but it doesn't seem like something that is good for him, and he feels like he knows that as well. And I like how Kat is kind of his North Star to be the one that calms him down and brings him back to himself. It was really good for that character.
Yeah, but I really respect how much Ben is trying to like use his powers as like a band-aid for these issues rather than like a final deciding force, because he doesn't want the responsibility anymore, and even if it financially burdens him, he's committed to doing that.
Yeah, it's really just a last resort. Like only if he is going to die, he uses his powers. That's the only time he'll use them. And I think that's a smart decision by the writers because if he's going around and flipping around and using his powers all season and all episode, I think it would kind of water down the usage of his powers and it wouldn't be as cool as it is. But when you like keep it from the audience for a long time and then you show them bits and pieces of it, it makes it more exciting and it really makes it like more impressive after seeing him be a normal person and then being the spider.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get more of it down the line too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Same. But obviously, Janet is pissed about him giving up the opportunity for more money yet again. And she's about to walk out and quit. But she, luckily, this is short lived because Kat walks in and says, "Hey, Sandman's in the wind. I need you to web him up." And Ben Riley takes the job. And that's the end of episode 1. Awesome establishing episode.
Yeah, I thought this was really solid. We got a lot of good character work for Ben. It was a good introduction to his characters and some of the people around him, like Robbie and Janet. And we got some pretty cool action stuff as well. And I like how he's like all episode trying to push away the spider and do everything he can not to be that person. But at the end of the episode, he gets pulled back in by Kat. I thought it was really interesting.
Same, dude. I loved it. So let's get into episode 2. So I thought the opening score for this episode and the score for the recap as well, fire. Like it kind of reminded me of Loki's music a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I know what you're saying there. Yeah, I thought it was great. They did a good job using the music to set the mood of the show, I feel like.
Yeah, just great usage of the music. But Sandman got his powers 6 months ago, and they've been getting worse ever since. Now we find out later in the episode that this is the exact same amount of time that Pyro Guy started setting fires. And also later on, we're revealed through a photo that they have all spent time together in the army during World War One. So they all have something or someone connecting them. And also we figure out in the trailer of the show that Ben also served during World War One, as well as possibly even getting bitten by the spider at that time. I'm sure we'll find out. But I think there's something webbing all of these superpowered individuals together.
Yeah, I think so too. There's definitely a connecting line between them somewhere. I thought it was really cool that they established that they have relationships before the show starts. Like, I like how they're in the military together and serve together. So obviously they're going to be very close with one another. So like when Tombstone finds out that Addison died and when Sandman finds out that Addison died, it really affects them. And it like, again, like makes you feel sympathy for these characters, even though they are like very menacing and intimidating characters. I think Tombstone especially, that casting is great because that dude is huge and he's got a really deep voice.
Yeah, that dude is a unit. And he also tells us that Pyro Guy was sick and that he's sick, and probably Sandman is sick as well. And the doc says, as in, I really hope that's Doc Ock. It's probably not Doc Ock. I'm just saying it'd be really cool if it was. But he said, their time is ticking. So they got to make the most of the time that they have. And it seems that's why Pyro Guy was influenced to set Silvermane's mansion on fire, but no one knows who hired him or why he did it still. So they're doing a really good job setting little bits and crumbs for you to nibble at to figure out, okay, what is this? What flavor cake is this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like how they're kind of teasing this character in the shadows that they haven't revealed yet. There are like a lot of characters from the Spider-Man comics in this show, like Silvermane, like Tombstone, like Sandman. And for the fact that there is still this other character that they haven't introduced to us yet, and they've just been like teasing at it, I think is really interesting because clearly this character has to be very important if they're talking about them like this and keeping them this much of a secret.
Yeah, totally, bro. So at the same time, while Cat Hardy's telling Ben about Sandman's powers and how long it's been, Silvermane and Winston are discussing a new Canadian supplier for alcohol since it's Prohibition era. And Winston thinks it could be dangerous for Silvermane to go there before he checks it out with everything going on in kind of a underestimating manner too, which is really interesting with Winston kind of playing ball with the idea that Winston is using Silvermane for his power more than Silvermane is using Winston for whatever services he may provide for him. And this is such a crazy power shift jump shot by Winston here. Like, you got balls, bro. You got balls, because Silvermane is definitely that guy that would kill you for saying something like that. And I feel like Winston just views Silvermane as a powerful pawn. So I think like they are both starting to view each other in the kind of light that will push them against each other down the road.
Yeah, this was a really intriguing scene. They have a really interesting relationship between the two of them. I like how it opens up with an assistant coming to bring Silvermane like a cup of tea, and they have a close-up on his hand, and it is shaking like crazy. So to have that introduce the scene, and then for Winston to be talking to him the way that he was, way more confident, way less afraid of Silvermane. Like you said, just straight up saying, if it would have benefited me, I would have killed you 10 years ago. Like, Winston is a much more interesting character than I thought he was as just Silvermane's like right-hand man, just his yes man. He's very much not a yes man. He has his own goals as well.
Yeah, like he kind of gives the energy of Buck, but if Buck had like his own business already.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Because it seemed like when Kingpin picked up Buck, it was when Buck like didn't really have a secure spot. So he found a secure spot in Kingpin and gave him that opportunity. But Winston, since he's a bit older, you know, he's already got his own established stuff going on.
Yeah, he doesn't rely on Silvermane as much, and so Silvermane doesn't have that like that power dynamic over him as much as Kingpin does over some of his people.
Yeah, exactly. So Silvermane is now searching for Flint Marco and Ben Riley in hopes that they can shed light on Pyro Guy and who hired him. And at the same time, Robbie is desperate to get the Pyro Guy's story out to the publishers, with Ben trying to find clues at Sandman's house before getting interrupted by Winston showing up just a few minutes after Ben at Sandman's place. And dude, Ben got so lucky that he didn't get found in the closet here. Like, this was such a close call. Like, did you really need to grab your hat that badly? It seemed like Winston just looked at it and just like, oh, that's a hat, and just like went on.
Yeah, he got lucky there for sure. He definitely got lucky there. Don't know why he thought that was a good idea to bring his hat into the room, because Winston noticed it already at that point. If you're taking the hat away, he's gonna notice that it disappears, and of course it leaves a puddle of water under it because it's raining outside. So Winston knows that someone's been here recently, but it's okay. Ben's fine. Ben's all right. He locks the closet door with his webs, which I thought was great. And yeah, I just like how they're showing multiple uses of his webs. Like he's using them to fight, he's using them to save himself, and he's also using them to like get his hat from across the room.
Yeah, just very ballsy. Like, he didn't need to do it, but it's fine. You know, he's not a perfect character, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But we find out that Sandman is now connected to Silvermane as well, because Sandman is hired to protect not only Cat Hardy, but also the building that Cat Hardy works at, because even though the deed is in Cat Hardy's name, Silvermane is really the one that owns the building and all of the business that runs through the building. So we hired Sandman to protect her and the building. So now, since Ben knows this, he presses Cat about this. Like, why did you keep this information hidden from me in the first place? And she's like, because your scared little ass would not have taken the case if you would have known that all of this was connected to Silvermane. He's like, all right, you know what? You're right. But since you're right, I'm not going to give up the case.
Yeah, she read him really well, and she was absolutely right. He was definitely not taking that case if it had to do with Silvermane. That was really funny. But there is definitely some things that she is keeping from Ben. She's definitely not telling him everything about herself or everything about her story. There's definitely still some things in the shadows.
Yeah, I just wonder why Sandman ran.
Yeah, it feels like Cat was like his comfort space, like she helped him out, but then he runs away immediately. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like his powers are worse than they've ever been, you know, because they describe him as being sick. So maybe he just feels the kind of way where he doesn't want her to see him looking so bad in his sand-like state.
Yeah, for sure. He's not comfortable with his powers and what's happening to him. Like you mentioned, he's still very early on in this process, but I'm sure we're going to see more of him throughout the show. So I'm interested to seeing how they explain it.
Yeah, me too. So, since Ben has decided to not give up the case, Silvermane's goons, remember earlier, they're looking for Ben, and they pull up on him, and they find him, and they somehow get him in the car. I've watched this episode 3 times, and every single time, it just feels like he is letting himself get kidnapped, because he very easily escaped out of the car under the bridge just the scene after. So, I don't know, like, this just kind of felt a bit unnecessary because they didn't even actually show him getting to the bridge. They cut away. It was like, oh, did he? Well, he's not going to get hit by a car. He's our main character.
Yeah, this was a interesting series of events. I mean, I don't know if Ben doesn't have the spider strength that most Spider-Men have, but or if those guys have powers of their own, if they're like super buffed up. But
No.
I mean, let's like that guy took a toaster to the nose real easy. He ate that toaster.
Yeah, okay. You know what? Yeah, there's just some weird power scaling going on.
Yeah, I think maybe you could explain it by it has been 5 years since he's used his powers. He's done everything he can not to, so he's kind of rusty. But
Kind of like Jessica Jones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's kind of what I was thinking. Like her powers were kind of turning on and off at times during Born Again. Maybe his powers are a similar way, but I feel like he's had these powers for a long time. They haven't really gone into much explanation about his powers as a character. All we know is that they came from a spider bite and he can shoot webs from his wrists. But I'm sure they're going to give us more explanation on that.
Yeah, like for example, in Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire one, he had his web block due to how much he was going through emotionally. So I feel like because maybe Ben Reilly isn't entirely in it, like he was about to web up the guys, but then he's like, oh, Tai Chi. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe because he's emotionally not into it, he doesn't get the full effect and benefits of being the spider unless he's fully committed, like mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, that is a really good point, actually. It's kind of like it feels like he's doing it. He's very reluctant to use his powers. Like he doesn't want to. He's not, like you said, he's not fully in it. He's only doing it when he has to. And in this situation, he kind of didn't have to with those guys, but he did have to later and he was able to.
Yeah, good point. So Ben Reilly escapes and he meets up with Robbie the following day and gives him fair warning on the whole danger regarding reporting on the Addison piece. And I honestly just hope that Robbie doesn't die spreading too much information about this case.
I hope I hadn't even thought of that, but I really hope he doesn't either. Like that would be really unfortunate. But it does kind of feel like they're like setting him up for some tragic event to happen. Like Ben keeps telling him not to report on these things, but he has to eat. He needs food. He needs money to survive, So it's like he doesn't really have a choice but to do his job. But doing his job on this would put him in perhaps even more danger.
Yeah, I think honestly, now that we're talking about it, Ben will probably have to save him down the line.
Yeah, probably. I think they're gonna have a scene where Ben's back in the mask and Robbie needs him for something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Robbie obviously doesn't listen and immediately goes to Addison's house, and that's where he finds Tombstone. And we find out that the powers are making Tombstone, Sandman, and Pyro Guy all sick. But Pyro Man's wife might know who hired him. So Robbie goes to find the wife. And while Ben is walking back from meeting with Robbie, Silvermane's goons threaten Janet at gunpoint at their office and trash the whole place for her to try to give up Ben's location. And luckily she doesn't, but they leave. But when they leave, they say, well, if we come back, we're killing you. She quits, and I do not blame her. Get out of there.
Yeah, probably the most valid quit of a job ever. Like she had plenty of reasons to leave that job anyways already, but like you mentioned, she's very loyal to Ben and she cares about him a lot and she needs a job. But it gets to the point where enough is enough. When you have a gun pointed at your head in your office, Like, yeah, I'm not going back to that office ever again either. So yeah, I completely understand her position. I'm sure they're gonna find another way to keep her in the story, and I hope they do because I really like her character.
Yeah, me too, man. So now Ben's like, well, shit, now my friends are being threatened by Silvermane's guys. This is getting really close to home, and I think the spider is going to have to come back into action. And in episode one, while he was giving his backstory, it showed Ben hiding his suit in the wall, and now since he's got to be the spider again, he's going to need the suit. So he's got to do the maintenance guy bit to get into the apartment, which was hilarious. Like Nick Cage is so good in this role.
It was so good, man. He's so good playing so many different angles of this character. He could play like the serious, the tragic, and then when it's time to be funny, he's really funny. His is just so great. I felt that there were a couple times where Nick Cage playing Ben Riley reminds me of Jim Carrey as the Grinch in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action version. Like just his delivery on some of the lines that he has, his physical, like his body humor is just it's great. He was perfect for this role.
Yeah, he's giving it all, and I love it. But around the same time that Ben is getting his suit from the neighbor's apartment, we find Tombstone meeting up with Sandman and hiding. And I think it's cool that like they're just friends, you know, like Tombstone and Sandman are just hanging out and like they're just mourning the loss of Addison or Pyro Guy, you know, like it's just cool little comic book stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. I like the character work of them. Like even though they do have powers, they do a good job at like humanizing these characters because they have been just normal people for most of their lives. It's really just these last 6 months where their lives have completely changed and now they're these superpowered people. But before that, they were normal people for the most part. They had normal relationships. They built great relationships with each other, and I like seeing that side of them.
Yeah, so at the same time, we catch up with Winston and Silvermane checking up on the alcohol shipment from the Canadians that they were setting up earlier in the episode. And Ben Riley decides to pull up and kick some ass. And this fight scene was awesome, like shooting the webs up on the buildings to crash the car and making everyone get out of the car. And then he's just webbing them up, punching them like it was nothing. Like he is so back. I loved it.
Yeah, I love this. This was peak Spider back in action in the suit and everything. He's got the goggles. He looks great. I love the choreography of this scene, like the way he uses his webs. And I know he doesn't directly kill anyone in this scene, but he's responsible for several deaths in this scene. Like I know he doesn't shoot the gun, but he shoots his webs and directs the gun to one of the other goons, killing him. And then he does that thing that Punisher did in his special where he like pulls a guy in front of him and one of the other goons shoots that guy that is in front of Ben. So, not directly killing people, but definitely responsible in some way.
Yeah, but honestly, I think it's on par because he does threaten Silvermane after he gets him alone, saying, hey, if you don't leave Ben Riley and his friends alone, I will kill you. You will die.
And I believe him, honestly. I don't think that was just some veiled threat. I think if pushed to that limit, he will cross that line. And I feel like that's another thing that makes him different from a lot of the other Spider-Man characters and makes him unique to this show. And I love how disconnected it is from the rest of the Spider-Verse while still being able to take some inspiration from it.
Yeah, like this is the first time that I've heard a spider person not under the influence of the symbiote give a death threat to a person.
Yeah, Ben Riley does not need the symbiote, and I hope he never gets it because that would be scary. That would be a mess.
Yeah, man. But the craziest part about this whole fight ambush sequence is that Ben actually interrupted a covert police ambush that was strategically planned to get Silvermane and the Canadians involved arrested for the booze exchange. And Ben Riley was the sole reason that Silvermane did not show up and did not get arrested, all because he was looking out for himself and his friends. The one time he acts in his own self-interest as solely the spider in over 5 years, it messes up so much. What an interesting ending of events for episode 2 of Spider-Noir.
Yeah, this was a super interesting twist for it. I loved the shift in tone after that awesome action sequence that we just got to then learn that it was all just making things worse for everybody anyways. And like you mentioned, the first time him coming back as the spider in 5 years and it going that poorly, it's going to take a lot for him to put that mask back on. He is not going to want to be getting involved because when he does get involved, it makes things worse. Super interesting turn. I really like the ending of this episode.
Yeah, and now luckily Robbie tells Ben like, "Hey, I don't think anybody knew that the spider was here, but this like if people did find out, like it could totally call into question the morality and whose side the spider is on." Which would also go in line with, I need pictures of Spider-Man. You know, he would tear up Spider-Noir if he found out what happened on this day.
Yeah, 100%, man. This would raise a lot of questions for people after not hearing about the spider in 5 years to then hear about him and that he interrupted the plan to finally take Silvermane down because it's been about 5 years of Silvermane in control with too much power in this city and the people are affected by it and he's up in his penthouse, up in his mansion, just living the life. So yeah, there would definitely be some frustration with the spider if they ever found out about that.
Yeah. So moving forward, Ben Riley's gonna have to figure out how to be better as a spider and also how to figure out how to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Cat Hardy is the black cat, right?
That's Felicia.
Felicia Hardy, right? If you look at the casting of the show, it says officially that it's Felicia Hardy and that she goes by Cat Hardy. I think it's a nickname. And if Hardy is the nickname, I think there's a chance that she's Black Cat.
That'd be really cool. I'd like that.
Yeah, I think it would. I think it'd be a really good twist. They've got a ton of comic book characters in the show, so they could add another one in.
Yeah, let's hope for the best. But that has been this breakdown and discussion of Spider-Noir episodes 1 and 2. We'll be doing the rest of the season as quickly as possible. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and we really appreciate it. And we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.